I cover e-commerce, which is about internet sales. It's mostly retail sales, goods and services and digital content sold to consumers, but it also includes business-to-business purchases as well. The internet didn't exist and e-commerce did not exist before the UK entered the EU, but it has grown massively in the last 10 to 20 years and continues to grow. Being part of the EU has been of great benefit to e-commerce in the UK. E-commerce knows no boundaries, no borders. People buy and sell goods and services across border, and the fact that we've had regulatory alignment, the same laws across the UK, has made that much easier. I think the main threat to e-commerce is divergence of laws. If we start having different laws to the rest of the EU, there are threats there for both consumers and businesses. Businesses in the UK will not be able to sell their goods easily throughout the EU and will lose trade, and that threats jobs and profits in the UK. But it's also bad for consumers too, because they're increasingly using these European sellers to buy things. So there will be a reduction in consumer choice if the regulatory alignment is not maintained. There are a few benefits potentially in the e-commerce world from Brexit. One of the directives has been considered at the moment in the EU may take away, for example, the short-term right to reject for consumers getting their money back on online sales. Go down a different line on that particular issue. But I would suggest that the benefits are much outweighed by the potential negatives. It depends on whether there is regulatory alignment or whether there's divergence. If there's divergence, the relationship between businesses and consumers, between businesses and businesses will change significantly across the EU. The other big one from our point of view is enforcers. At the moment, we're part of the Consumer Protection Partnership, which means that trade and standards officers and other regulators, consumer regulators in the UK, have information sharing, cooperation arrangement with enforcers right across the EU, and that is seriously in danger from Brexit. We need something similar to that after Brexit to be able to work effectively, especially in the e-commerce field, which knows no boundaries. Brexit is going to be a big challenge for local authority trading standards services. With the significant increase in importers that we're going to see, a lot of small businesses will now be importers that previously were not deemed to be importers of goods, and they will need extra advice. There will also be other legal changes. However closely we align our consumer laws with Europe, there will inevitably be other changes, and this will bring extra work to very hard-pressed trading standards authorities. I think it's really important that central government in the negotiations on law and trade agreements on this stick to a line of alignment on e-commerce laws and consumer laws generally, to allow our businesses to continue to sell their goods and services and digital content to Europe, and to allow our consumers to have the maximum choice in their purchasing. It's also very important, I think, that central government thinks about the resourcing of trading standards authorities, which, resources are very tight. They're a lot less than they used to be. It is really difficult for trading standards officers to do the work that they have at the moment. There's every chance that after Brexit they'll have more work to do. There will be changes in the legal field. Businesses will need more advice than they need at the moment, and trading standards needs to be resourced to be able to provide that assistance. Three main lessons that we have to learn and issues that we have to address. One is about regulatory alignment and avoiding regulatory divergence in the short term, in terms of making sure our laws are close to those in Europe in terms of e-commerce matters, to make sure our businesses can continue to sell and our consumers continue to buy in Europe. The second one is connected to that, but it's slightly different, and it's about the longer term, and it's all very well keeping the statute law the same on Brexit Day +1, but what about European Court of Justice judgments? Will they be taken into account? Law is not just about statute, it's about precedent from court cases as well. What about other developments in the digital single market strategy of the EU? Will we continue to keep an eye on that and take some of these things into account. So the point is, Brexit Day +1, statute's the same, fine, that's a good start. But what about 2 years, 5 years down the line? Will we diverge by stealth? And that's something we don't want. The third issue is about enforcement. It's about making sure that trading standards authorities and the CMA and the other consumer regulators are connected to the European network of regulators so we can share information and we can work together. Rogue businesses, for example, in the e-commerce world, work across Europe. They don't just operate in one country, and we need to be working together on that. In terms of how the think tank communicates their key messages, needs to be talking to all the relevant departments, needs to be communicating to the Prime Minister's office and to, certainly to the Department for Exiting the EU as well as the specialist departments like BEIS and so on. Need to be getting that message across government, but across Parliament as well, to the opposition and to other parties, and also to the public and to the business. We should be certainly having private conversations with government, but we should also be publicising what we're doing.